$50 a dancer and $50 a singer. Oh, yep, that's what it is.
Good evening, everybody. We're here tonight at the mid-monthly tribal council meeting that's scheduled for March 16th, 2020, 5 p.m. On call to order at 5:04 p.m. Eric, would you say a opening prayer for us, please?
Go on, I come for you today. This epidemic on us. Give us the strength and guidance to make the best decision possible for our people, our membership, our elders and children. Say about that much. Hope.
Thank you, Eric. We have the agenda tonight. We had some added items. We got 3 items for Winnebago's promotions. We got the Winnebago Tribe in Nebraska hiring freeze from HR, and we have Human Services guidelines for services we need to approve. Tori has honorarium for singers and dancers for visitors today who showed their skills and for a CDC meeting.
Was it Winnebago's freezing a hiring? What?
3 items, 3 promotion items from Winnebago's. They also have an update. They want to what's going on over there, so they include that in there. The HR hiring freeze and Human Services guidelines for services. Is there any other additions? No other additions at the moment. Is there a motion to approve this amended agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second by Tori. Moved by Eric, second by Tori. Any discussion? Any objections to the motion? No objections, motion passed, 7-0-0. I just wanted to make an announcement real quick to our tribal members and members within all. The Winnebago tribe has closed down services for till the 27th of March. Also, our public school is shut down. Educare is shut down till the 27th, and we will reevaluate the situation on that day and see where we are, and we hope and pray that it doesn't get any worse for us all. Okay, we'll get into the reading of the minutes. 2/27/20 Treasurer's Report minutes. Is there a motion to approve the?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion by Mel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Any discussion? Any objections? No objections. Motion passed, 7-0-0. Item 2, 3/2/20 regular tribal council meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the March 2nd regular meeting minutes.
There's a motion by Tori. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? No objections? No objections, motion passed 7-0. Item 3/11/20, CEO report and land meeting minutes. Just to note that add these minutes are together because we recessed, correct? Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Eric, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mel, is there any discussion? Is there any objections to the motion? No objections? Motion passed 7-0. Ratifications, approved budget modification, Garden Cemetery project. We have a memo here that says the Community Garden Cemetery Project is requesting an increase in tribal appropriations, budget number 9960, in the amount of $6,500 to assist with an unanticipated vehicle repair. Is there a motion to ratify?
I'll make the motion, but I have a comment. I think when they get up to 5, they quit. And they ought to let all of us have a chance to sign it if they can. Because this one came by and I didn't know about it. I would have approved it, but I would have liked to at least try to find me, so we can all get on the same page.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Louis, second by John. Any more discussion? Any more objections? Any objections? No objections? No objections, motion passed 7-0. Adopt resolution. Adopt resolution. What resolution was that? Oh, Planning Department, adopt resolution 20-103.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Louis, second by Roland. Any discussion? Any objections to the motion? No objections? Motion passed 7-0. We have a problem with putting Winnebago in this time slot right now? Is that okay? Okay. They have, you guys got your packet? Promotions? They have 3 of them. You want to approve these one at a time or all together?
You guys can do one at a time.
Okay.
First one, good evening, everyone, by the way. The first one, this is in after we go over scenarios of how we have our plans, if everything is going right, we still got to promote and still make money at the casino. So these are in play if we're open and if we're running the casino at the time. Bring a friend and bonus free play day on April 2nd. Total estimated cost is $45,718. It's all free play. They have to bring somebody in for it to count, so it's an estimated value. If they don't show up, if they don't utilize it, it doesn't cost you anything. So it's based on bringing new players in and bringing our better players in to bonus them.
Okay, just note in the packet, bring a friend bonus free play was item number 2. Add that at number 1, change that to number 1. Is there a motion to approve bring a friend and bonus free play day?
Motion to approve, bring a friend and bonus free play day.
Second.
Motion by Tori, second by Eric. Any discussion?
When is this?
April 2nd.
Any more discussion? Any objections to the motion? No objections? Motion passed 7-0-0. Dance Across America concert contract and ticket pricing.
I'm sorry, we only did one of those so far. Did you want to go to number 2, which is the triple play bonus free play day for March 29th, 30th, from 6 to 11:59 for the total estimated cost of $70,600?
Okay. This in the packet, it's,
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't make the packet, and it looks like it's backwards.
okay.
But the way it was typed is this way, sorry.
Item 2, triple play and bonus free play offer.
Also, my marketing director is with me. If you guys have any questions, he can explain how these work.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, you want to come up here and explain how this one works, and then maybe you can go back and just tell them how to bring it.
Yeah, essentially, this particular promotion is a promotion that we've seen in the competition. So when I first started here, somebody who played down at Ameristar Harrows brought in a mailer that said, the mailer said, come in this day, we'll give you free play. Come in the very next day, we'll give you free play. And if you come in the third day, we're going to double that free play offer. So essentially, I did a pro forma based upon how many people will come in for the first day, right? Based upon our bonus free play day, historical numbers that we've had in the past, and response percentage rates. And then you have to, the variable is how many people will come in for the second day. And based upon distance from the property and whether they're high frequency or low frequency, you had to come up with a variable number. So I chose 65% of the people that were within 30 miles would respond to the second day offer, and I think 40% would respond to the second day offer past 30 miles. And then you have to predict, okay, how many people will come in for the third and final offer? And that's based upon the people that came in for the second offer, because the only way you can get the third and bonus offer is by coming in and redeeming both. So those percentages are even smaller, but they're based upon the 65% and the 40% of people that are coming in. So it's just it's a way that we as marketers try to get, we drive hotel revenue, right? Because people are coming in and they're staying in the rooms because they don't want to miss out on the offers. And it drives food and beverage because they're there on property for 3 days in a row. In addition to that, if they don't make it, they don't get that third day offer. So it's unique. It's a unique promotion. I've done it at other properties, and it's all based upon the variable percentages of people that are going to respond to the offer. Now, in February, we are averaging about $20,000 in free play per day, right? This is a 3-day promotion. It's only $10,000 more based upon those variable points. So that's just a little FYI for you on how much free play that we go through on an average per day that we did at this past February. The Friends promotion, which already was passed, is a common promotion that I've done where you're trying to get players that play alike to come in. And in order to do that, you have to entice them. You have to give them something to come in. I know we're in a mature market. I know that we've been open for over 28 years here. So those new members are few and far between, right? We need to convert the people from our competition to come into our property and sign up to be a new member. So the only way that works is that they have to be a new member in order to receive that offer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion by Louis, a second by Mal. I just had a comment. I know it's end of the month, March 29th, 30th, and 31st.
Yes.
That's a good,
And that's the
Good
other
time.
reason, that I'm glad you brought that up. The other reason we did that is last year, we had 5 weekends in the month of March. This year, we only have 4. So we're trying to boost that end of the month number to equal last year's numbers. So that's another reason.
There's no other free play either, right? Like, there's no other free play either, normal free play those days either, so this is in lieu. There's no other free play like you normally would get those last 3 days either.
Correct.
So I think we're giving away double, I guess.
Mhm. okay. Is there any objections to the motion? No objection? Triple play, bonus free play motion passed. Item 3, Dance Across America concert contracts and ticket pricing.
Yeah, this one is Studio 94 featuring Crystal Waters, Robin S., CNC Music Factory, CC Peniston, and Quad City DJs. 30 Billboard Top 10 dance hits, 200 million records sold combined. It'll be a one-night concert. Total price of that concert is $49,500 on April 18th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have discussion.
Okay, there's a motion by Tori, second by Eric. Discussion. Tori.
Are there any clauses if there's guidance that gatherings should not exceed 10 people, or do we have any of those? In regarding these concerts in April, are there any clauses in the language that is gonna protect the casino if we can't host this conference?
Yes, all the contracts we have, you can reschedule based on something like that, or if they cancel, then you're not stuck in the contract. If we cancel, then we're stuck into the contract and we have to pay them. So there is a rescheduling clause, correct, Mike?
Yes.
Thanks.
Any more discussion?
Actually, that'll go for the ones that are coming up too. The Urban Cowboy Tour that's on April 3rd, and the Sheena Easton and Tiffany on April 18th. I'm sorry, this is not April 18th. This is May 29th, this concert. Sorry, I misspoke on that.
May 20. Any objections to the motion? No objection. Motion passed 7-0-0. Eric. And now update on the casino.
Yeah, so we've been developing our plan. So Obviously, this is something new for us at the casino. We have an emergency action plan. It's a 36-page plan that's already in place, but that covers active shooter, tornadoes, floods, everything except a pandemic. We didn't ever expect something like this to come up. So we've been working on that ever since we knew about it. As I said before to a few of you, I even brought it up in the treasurer's report at the end of the month to say that the pandemic of the coronavirus might be an issue for us in the future. So when we heard about the first issue in Omaha, we already started preparing and doing work with that. So we started ordering cleaning products. We started disinfecting and cleaning, doing all the things that we knew about to do. So until this week, I didn't know we were having meetings over here about how to handle that on the medical side to add that to our system. So that helped out tremendously being here on Friday to understand a little bit more about how to deal with the coronavirus from a medical standpoint. But we are currently adding language into our emergency action plan to include pandemic type of diseases. So we do have 3 scenarios, and for the planning of what we can do at the casino in case something happens, right? First of all, we already made some adjustments. As of today, we started closing down from midnight to 8 a.m. from Monday through Friday for graveyard. And that'll be an attempt to clean, to use those staff in other areas. It's not really busy during that time. We did some data and some analysis anyway, so that might save us, and in the future, we might stick with that. We'll have to see how that goes later. On top of that, we stopped valet. We don't want our valet people inside people's vehicles, or vice versa, to spread any kind of issues or diseases or anything like that, have an opportunity to catch something. Another thing we've done is we've closed our pool and our fitness center. Another thing we've done is, on top of the closing of the hours, we are limiting access to the facility. So we're closing a few doors. The Flowers Island buffet door and the center doors are going to be locked and closed, and there's going to be signage, it's already up, that directs them to the main entrance and to the hotel entrance. I have security guards posted at those as people are entering. They're asking those 3 questions that we found out, the question areas, just like they're doing here at the hospital. If they've been in contact, if they've traveled, whatever those 3 questions are, and I have them here somewhere specifically, before they enter the casino. We also have hand sanitizers right there, and we're asking them to sanitize their hands upon entering the casino as well. If they do say yes to any one of those 3 statements, then we are going to kindly ask them to go and see their medical provider prior to entering our casino and show us validation that they're not infected with the coronavirus. So we are limiting access to those 2 areas currently. Am I missing anything on the first 5? We took out all salt and pepper shakers and all the condiment dispensers that people touch, right? And we're using like ketchup packets or salt and pepper packets and things like that. So we're trying to ease up on anybody touching multiple things. Another thing we've done is on all public bathrooms and within the back areas, on the mirrors in the restrooms, there's signage that's from the CDC that talks about you're coughing, you're washing your hands 20 seconds with soap and water, et cetera, et cetera. So that's out there for all the public to see and all our team members to see. In the back of the house, we already started our process with the team members. We sent out a letter ensuring them that, we're trying to protect the safety of team members and our guests. So there is a 3-part video that's mandatory. We started this on Friday after we got back from our safety committee meeting that they have to watch, and it's to do with those things, coughing, the proper way to cough, the proper way to wash your hands, and what is the COVID-19 coronavirus and how to deal with it and prevent it. So that's a mandatory training, and they're going through that currently. As of tomorrow, I believe it's mandatory that they go through unless they're on leave of absence or PTO or something like that over this weekend. So we're educating our staff on prevention techniques on top of, the cleaning and disinfecting that we've been doing. Now, as we mentioned before, one of our concerns is, just like everybody else, is back orders, right? Everybody's ordering disinfectants and hand sanitizers and everything. So we're making our own, our housekeeping manager has been in touch with the people out in Oregon at Wild Horse Casino. So they're the ones that closed down initially when they had somebody that was infected with coronavirus, and they closed down for 48 hours and cleaned the whole property. We got in touch with them, asked them what they used, how they did it, and then we started, looking into that already. So we're creating our own hand sanitizers, our own cleansers, and our own do-it-yourself wipes. So towels inside of a liquid and a formula so that it kills the germs, and we're cleaning constantly. Our machines, we closed down table games for a little while, and we cleaned off all our chips. I guess our biggest concern after all of that is you could still clean everything and somebody could walk in and still have it, right? And then what we talked about in our manager meeting today was trying to ensure that when somebody gets up off a machine or leaves the bingo area or wherever they're at, that we wipe down immediately with our cleaning solutions. So we're trying to be very proactive about that. So that's what we've done so far. What we've been working on, as you can understand and probably imagine, is there's a lot of working parts at the casino, and it's a 24-hour business, and every department is different. So we have to come up with plans for 3 different scenarios. First scenario we looked at is if we have to close for 48 hours and clean everything and deep clean everything like some casinos have done, what do we do and how do we do it within each department? Every department has had a task of figuring out what they need to do, how they would do it, how they would keep track of, going through everything top to bottom, cleaning their areas of responsibility. Our second scenario is if we had to decide to close down for 14 days for self-quarantine. What would we do? How do we do it? How do we staff? And our third one is if there's a closure of businesses for 30 days or more, how would we handle that? So we have 3 different scenarios going on right now that we're being prepared for, writing up all the standards of operation and how that works. So in the future here, that'll be part of our emergency action plan. These are the scenarios on a pandemic, and these are the steps you take if that happens. So right now, there's some questions on, for us, for us, we're trying to keep it open as long as possible and make as much money as we can. Very few of the other casinos have started closing down in our region. Now, there's some closing around the country. A lot of those are in areas that are really infected or have a lot of population. Today, we got word that Prairie Meadows closed at 5 o'clock for up to 30 days. As we were pulling in, Grand Falls just closed 14 days. Is that what you said, Mike?
Yeah, and there's an update too.
Okay. No word from Hard Rock, no word from any Ameristar Horseshoe?
Hard Rock's closing their hotel.
Just the hotel?
Yeah, and they're turning off every other machine.
Okay. So again, some of those are, again, discussion points that we're going to talk about with you. Right now, one of the things we don't want to do is create a problem where people think we have a problem, right? We don't want to announce that we're closing down, we're doing this, we're doing that, when nobody else has really done that yet in our region until we just now heard. Until right now, we didn't know that they were doing that either. But some of those are some of the things that we discussed today. Closing down every other machine, doing something with bingo and the buffet. A lot of buffets are closing down right now because there's so many people in a congested area. But there's also ways around that with the social distancing section of this whole thing, right? They want you to be as far away as 6 feet from other people. So what we have in some of these plans of those areas are moving the tables 6 feet from each other. Same thing in bingo, moving each table 6 feet from each other and only putting a few chairs at each table so they're a little bit further apart to help with the social distancing part. But that's an item that is up for discussion with the tribal council here, and how do we want to proceed is, do we want to do something with bingo? Do we want to do something with the buffet? My recommendation at this point is we don't have any, issues in this area yet. But if we do, and all these other casinos like they are start to close down, or if there's a directive from the state of Iowa, I would recommend we would also close down for the reason of we don't want to have a PR nightmare where we're the only ones that stayed open and all of a sudden somebody gets the coronavirus and passes away. Now we look really bad for staying open. Right, you guys could have shut down just like everybody else, self-quarantined, cleaned up, came back when it was all said and done. So there's a lot of things that are up in the air for us as far as the direction. We have some recommendations on a lot of different things, but as far as right now, proactively, we are working on all these different scenarios for each one and however you guys would like to proceed with the casino. So with that, I think I hit most of the stuff that I have for you at this moment. We do have some information on Governor Reynolds announces assistance for layoffs for unemployment insurance. If it comes to that, where we lay people off and close down for a little while, the state is providing unemployment insurance for team members, employees. And I think we had some questions on that. Susie, did you want to elaborate?
One of the questions we would want clarification on is they are encouraging employers to have staff use paid leave prior to filing for unemployment insurance. Another one was back in the flood days, we provided coverage for medical, dental health insurance. The tribe paid the employees' portion, and then when they returned to work, we did a payroll deduct, so they didn't miss out on any medical coverage. I think those are the two we need clarified if we need to move to an unemployment issue.
I think that's correct. That's in the worst case scenario if we're closed for a little while and we have to lay people off. Is where do we want to go with that? As she stated, back in the flood times, the tribe did pay everybody's health insurance, and they just pay deducted and paid the tribe back when they came back to work. That way, nobody lost coverage during that time. So again, those are options that we have on the floor, and you know, it's up to the tribe to decide how we want to proceed. Because as of right now, it's business as usual as far as I'm concerned until we have to or need to make a move. It's doors are open. Let's make money until we can't.
My wife observed a person of no color playing on the machine and was coughing. People were moving away from the machines, and that guy, he should have been noticed and put a mask on it. Or how do you deal with people like that?
That's part of what we found out, sir, on Friday, asking the questions. Some of us stayed after and talked to the medical people after as well. We don't have any masks. The masks that are necessary, they're on back order for everybody as well, and only the medical field are the ones getting the masks at this point. So the mask we would get wouldn't be the kind that would stop that kind of spread anyway. However, we've instituted the 3 questions, and for my security staff, they can notice that, and we can kindly ask them to leave the property until they see their medical provider. So we have implemented that as of Friday.
Good.
Any more comments?
Question.
Yes.
But you said the Hard Rock just closed?
The hotel and the every other slot machine, it sounds like.
Okay, okay. I like that, closing every other slot machine, like you said, 6 feet, that's kind of might not be 6 feet, but it's something, Thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
I think you guys got a lot covered. Good job. We just take it daily, from here on out. See what happens tomorrow. See what we're ordered to do. Anything else? John?
So I think these other properties are making decisions to protect their customers, and I think our customers would appreciate that. If they've seen stuff like every other machine or the stuff that you guys are doing, I think that'd be appreciated, and they'd feel safer, and they would come. I mean, if other properties are doing it and we're not doing it, it might look negligent, and the customers might not come. They say, well, it seems like they're doing more. Maybe it's safer over there. So I just wanted to point that out.
I think it would be appreciated if we were taking safety measures that were visible and that we communicated that well to the public. And my other question is, well, it might be a good time, Chairman. I know you wanted to update the membership on the actions that we took this afternoon. And one thing I thought about the casino workers, the tribal members out there that have children and maybe single parents. And schools ain't going to be in session, and daycare is not going to be available. So our tribal members are going to be coming to us and saying, what are we going to do? So I wanted to put that up for discussion and get thoughts from the council on the tribal members that are working out there, and they're going to have children that ain't going to be in school and have no daycare.
Yeah, we went on admin leave until the 27th of March. So we're kind of taking care of our people. We got them at least 80 hours. And hopefully something happens from the state, the government, that allows them to go more. But have you guys discussed anything else about our members, our workers, if they need to be home with their children?
Yeah, that's come up a couple times with some different team members, and at the time that was another question we have for the table here is, for one, thanks for the observation. We did write a letter already that we were getting ready to put out to our people about that, and that's why we're making these accommodations of the 6 foot between tables. For one, another thing that before I get to that question is, do we want to close down the buffet, or do we want to try to do limited service where our servers are actually serving people and people aren't grabbing the food themselves? Because we have that as one of our options too. Same thing with bingo. Do we want to shut it down, or do we want to do what we're doing right now currently, is spreading the tables 6 foot from each other and spreading the seats out? Again, we did talk about doing the every other machine deal, even taking out chairs, right, from every other machine and putting them in storage for now. That doesn't mean people won't move them to their favorite machine or whatever, but if we shut them down, that might be different. Now, some machines can't be shut down because it causes a problem trying to turn them back on. So there's a very limited number of those that we'd have to identify, and maybe those ones would stay on and we kind of adjust around those. So we are making those steps, and I believe, we had a discussion last week prior to our first VIP party we had Saturday night. We have 3 more every Saturday for the next 3 weeks. So we're deciding how we're going to address those coming up. We had a great turnout. I was actually surprised how many people showed up on Saturday, but a lot of them were very thankful for the letter that we put out, addressing the concerns, the safety, what we're doing to protect, them and our team members. So we definitely are doing that from a PR standpoint, and we will make that. That's what some of this stuff I wanted to find out tonight. What kind of direction we wanted to go with, and when we get back, that's the first thing we'll do. We'll start making some of this stuff happen. Whether we're closing down hotel, buffets, whatever, right? How do we want to address that? Hotel might be another one that would be something to slow down, except for the people that are staying on Saturday night, the VIP parties. I'm assuming we're pretty full on that already, from the outer quadrant from 30 miles plus. I'm not sure what our room count is on that. So, we got to address those concerns. And but as far as the question on employees, we did feel that there was going to be some ripple effect on that. As soon as I heard last night that the schools were closed for 30 days, we expected that, right? There's a lot of single parents. There's a lot of parents that have small children, and both parents may work or something. So what are they going to do with their kids during the day? Because it sounds like a lot of daycares are even closing or not taking any other kids, right? So that is something, we would definitely like to hear your guys' thoughts on how we would address that, because that's a tough one, because it's just like taking time off. If you got PTO, yeah, or if you got leave, we could do leave without pay. That's not a problem, because we understand that you need to take time off with your family. We have the ability to do that. We also want to keep the place running, so you got to have people working too. So that's always a delicate balance, right? I mean, you want to be open and make money, and you want to service your guests, and not have somebody saying, "Oh, nobody came and saw me. They didn't clean the machine, or they didn't. It took forever to get my jackpot payout, whatever that is." So it's a balance between how do you manage that part. But we're open to giving people time off, even if we decide, if it comes to that we have to, close up for a couple weeks or even 30 days or more. That's, to me, that's more of a national call, and I understand that because, it's more about safety of people, right? Quarantining them, stopping the spread, figuring out the little pockets of people who are infected and taking care of those. So I get that. So then how do we address that? Now, last time I think they were offered the ability to use some PTO or not use it before they went on employment. Am I correct in that, Susie? Yes. So there's some options there, and as well as the options with the families. I mean, if they got PTO or if they just need time off, we understand that and we can work around that. So they just got to go to their department manager or HR and tell them the situation, and we'll work around it.
Okay. Eric?
It seems like if we're gonna keep our. It seems that if we're gonna keep our hotel open, that we would have to keep the buffet open or something to that extent to feed the people staying there. And so with cutting down the number of people in there, what about shutting down half of our floors as well then?
Well, I think that would be the case if we're shutting every other machine off. That's basically saying we're shutting half the floor down, just spreading them out so they're not close to each other, right? Now, as far as the food areas, we contemplated if the buffet had to close, we still have 2 other outlets that we can service them. So the employees that would have been in the buffet area, we would use in the other area so it could speed up, the delivery of service and goods. So, I mean, we have some plans on how we want to do that. But for now, we're going to take out and take out as many tables and chairs as we need to spread the tables as far apart as we can and still service our guests. So like a Wednesday night, that's our, $270 night. It's going to be $3 in April. It's going to be busy, right? And 370 people or more come in there every Wednesday night to eat a cheap meal, right? So we're going to have to be able to service them, get them through, keep them, in a line. Not so much a line standing there, but with a system to call them when their table is ready and get them in and out as fast as possible. Now, again, the thing about employees and having enough staff is if we're going to actually serve them, it takes somebody to stand there and do that. Currently, we don't do that. So our guys are running back and forth, bringing fresh trays of food out, doing what they do. So that'll take another person to stand there and do that. So then again, there's that tight balance is, if people are taking the time off because they got kids to watch, how are we going to do that, right? So there's going to be some overtime. There's going to be some people working extra hours to cover business needs. But we always pull together and make it happen. So we'll always make it happen and serve our guests.
You can take the machines out that won't get a lot of play.
Well, we have been doing that little by little as we bring in the new games that we've been bringing in over the last 5 years, or sometimes the games they run out of life, right? They don't have parts that you can buy anymore. They're old, so as they kind of run out of their life, we take them off the floor. So we were over 800. We were almost 850 machines, probably over 5 years ago. We're down to about 760. So we kind of been doing that, and that's why the floor is spread out a little bit more. We've got about 80 or 90 games less on the floor as we did in the past, but. Those are the ones that make money, so you don't want to take too many off the floor. Right? We got to have the ones that people are playing, but we do. I mean, once they're out of life or we replace them, we try to get them off the floor.
John?
So we're making decisions to protect our community, and we understand that we have a business out there and needs to continue and needs workers. So do we know how many workers that live in this community? Because if that was the exemption that we could make, and if that was possible for our operations.
Yeah, we should have that within our demographics. I know in our demographics we know how many tribal members are a percentage of employees. As far as living in this community, I'm sure we have that number somewhere as well. We could figure that out. We could have that number by tomorrow. And then identify those individuals and speak to them and see, if they're going to need the time off or what to take care of their children. Mm-hmm. So we'll be proactive about contacting each one of them to figure out how we need to address that, and then the department itself, the departmental needs after that.
Thank you.
Tori?
think another one of those screening questions when you talk to those employees is if they take care of elderly people in their home. And I know that's one of the exceptions in some of the telework policies that I've seen, is that's one of the questions is if do you also have elderly people in your household?
Okay, so as we do that, Susie, it's gonna be children and elderly. Okay.
So it might be fairly easy for them getting on unemployment if they were temporarily laid off?
Yes, there's a plan already in place. I think one thing we had to do is Mike remembered as we were driving over here, since we changed companies with the unemployment insurance, that we're gonna have to just check some language in there about how that works with our unemployment insurance. But as far as what Governor Reynolds has said, they're granting the unemployment insurance. So if we needed to do that and lay people off, at least they're collecting a check while they're not working. And that might be something we could do with the tribal members that are over here, because if they have to take time off anyway, we could lay them off and bring them back when they're ready to come back, when everybody's back in school or this is done. That way they're collecting some kind of unemployment check. I mean, that might be another solution for that.
Yep.
It does answer that pretty smoothly, relatively smoothly, all things considered.
Okay, think you guys got a pretty good plan going. Susie?
With regard to the leave that was granted today, does that include transit?
Oh, yeah.
Will the shuttle still be running for those that can still make it?
Essential, yeah.
So, yeah, okay,
Okay.
good, because that's a lot of employees ride that.
Don't worry about that.
Well, as you see, I mean, we've been doing a lot of work since we knew this was coming. We've been formalizing our plans. We have all kinds of options and all kinds of situational analysis of what we need to do to pivot when we hear what's going on. Again, I guess my recommendation, if everybody else in the state of Iowa starts closing down, I know the CDC also put out a report that any gathering of 50 or more, they recommended, they don't have those for the next 8 weeks. So again, that's a recommendation. It's not really something that they put out there for everybody nationally, but each state has done something different. Some states are saying 250 or more, 100 or more. You know, Iowa hasn't said anything yet. So if push comes to shove, my recommendation, if everybody else is closing, is that we would close too, even though we have the option not to, just because of the PR nightmare it might become if something ever happened. Right, and then it's a case of we know that we can take care of employees by unemployment insurance, keeping essential staff there to secure the property. So we already have all that in place. Security and surveillance are always going to be there, protecting the property no matter what, even when we shut down now. But some of that's what kind of what you said, John, is how we're going to address, letting people know we're thinking about them and the safety of everybody. Even the closing down from midnight to 8, is an effort to show that we're cleaning, deep cleaning, shampooing, wiping down during slow periods to make sure that we're taking care of those guys, not only our team members, but the guests that come in.
Tori?
This afternoon we actually had the CDC visit us today, and they got a tour of our health facilities and community. And while we were walking by one of the monitors, President Trump was having a press conference, and he gave guidance of no more than 10 gathering. But like you said, this changes every day, and every state has different guidance, but that's just what came out on the national news this afternoon. And so I quickly emailed the council just to let them know what I had just heard. Tomorrow, the CDC is having a listening session at 4 p.m. our time, and I emailed that to the tribal council, and I could forward it to you if you want to listen to that.
Yes, please.
And just as we are learning of these opportunities, we all have to kind of call in to hear what's the breaking news and guidance. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. our time, there's a tribal leader town hall that's being organized by NAFOA, NCAI, and NIHB. And so we're trying to really be active in those conversations so we can have those solutions and information as soon as it's released.
Sure, your 9 a.m. meeting tomorrow. You got 9 a.m. meeting.
Yeah, and also we're having a telephone call at 9 a.m. with the governor of Nebraska, with the 4 tribes, 4 chairmen at 9. So see what kind of information they'll share with us tomorrow. So I sent that to the tribal council. We'll be here talking with the governor tomorrow at 9. So I think you guys got a good plan, and we'll take it day by day.
Yeah, and like I said, since it's new, we just we're trying to formulate and write it all down so there's a procedure after this, no matter what happens with any kind of pandemic, on top of the other emergencies we're already prepared for. So just something new that we've never dealt with. Not even in my lifetime have we ever dealt with something like this. So it's just trying to get ready and address it. And you know, I believe my team has done a good job getting ready for everything individually in departments and as a team getting ready to take care of business for the tribe here. We want to make sure we're safe, taking care of everybody, and still making money as long as we can, because that's the goal. I mean, we have to make money for the tribe. So on a good note, February ended up 31% higher than last year, so we're going to have a great treasurer's report. March is ahead of last year right now, and that's why we're doing these promotions at the end of the month, as long as, you know, business still goes, to enjoy another fruitful month for the tribe. So everything's going right except for this. You know, as far as the casino is concerned, everything's making money and going in the right direction. So we're very proud of that. And again, I got a great team helping me get all this stuff formulated for you guys, and we'll ensure that we're doing everything possible. So if you guys have any questions, concerns, you feel free to get in touch with us or me, and you know, I'll fill you in and let you know what we're doing and how we're doing it. And if you got any recommendations, don't hesitate.
Yep. Thank you. We'll be in contact.
We're heading,
No doubt.
we got to worry about a recession impacting the country. It could be just as damaging.
I agree, and I think that that's why I brought that up, is not only are we dealing with a pandemic, we're dealing with the recession and a stock market crash of 33% right now. So that might have an effect on us as well. Although we've had this discussion even in 2008 in the last crash, you know, the bigger casinos and the places in resort travel areas, they're the ones that got hurt because people weren't traveling. What actually happened was the casinos that were local actually did better, because people weren't traveling somewhere else spending their money. They stayed home and spent their money. So that part might not be a big issue, because gamblers are the ones that's their entertainment, right? That's what they spend their money on. And, you know, even if they miss a couple days, when they get back, they're going to gamble like they, you know, should have over those few days, right? So they go a little bit more wild. I mean, that's just the addiction of gambling and the mind of a gambler. Ask Mike, he knows. It's the nature of the beast. But yeah, it could have a double, you know, negative for us, but we're hoping it doesn't. Right now, we're not seeing that. Even though numbers are and stock market's crashing, we're still ahead of last March. You know, again, the hard part is battling 5 weekends, where weekends are our biggest money makers. But that's why Mike is working on these extra promotions in the middle to end out the month, and you know, really try to finish off strong for March. So we're looking forward to next month, our 28th anniversary of being open. You know, that's another huge milestone for the tribe and the casino, and we have a lot of great things planned. As long as everything goes right, it should be another great month for us.
I suppose last Friday there was no big drop in customers on crab like that, was it?
No, like I said, food is our draw. I mean, it's not like we have spas and those kind of things, but people like the food, and we value price it. We're not overpricing things, so that's one of our really only draws, besides great promotions and guest service. So, yeah, that works for us, and that's why we don't really want to close buffets. You know, if we can spread them out, if we can serve, you know, all the little things that we could do to minimize any exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks again, everybody.
John has one more comment.
So I thought I heard a action item that Susie might need. Did we want to take care of that? As far as the insurance, if anything, if an employee should.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario, though. I mean, if that comes to that, then we'll want to know if the tribe wants to do that like they did last time. And again, it's kind of like fronting them the money, because the employees pay it back once they come back to work. But that would be if they went on unemployment and all that kind of stuff.
And it sounds like some of our community members might be doing it.
Well, yeah, if that's the plan, I mean, that might be the best case scenario for them. If they go on unemployment while they're off to take care of their family members, then they would need that, probably the ability to do that, right?
So
Yeah.
I just think it'd be smart to put it in place if needed.
Yeah, get that ready and have it prepared.
I mean, I could make that motion. I'll make that motion right now to cover any health insurance while an employee might take leave, and that they pay it back through a payroll deduct when they return to work.
There's motion by John. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tori. Is there discussion? Any discussion?
Is this pending the outcome of the current situation with this virus? Is that in your motion?
It would be to be utilized by the HR department when needed moving forward.
Any more discussion? Any objections to the motion? No objections? No objections, motion passed, 7-0-0.
Okay, we'll get that written up and sent over to the Gaming Commission for approval, and then we'll start our process with the, proactively talking to the tribal members and family.
Okay. All right, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Give you a call tomorrow. Okay. New business, approved payment of gift orders. What is that?
That was, Maria
Oh.
for the boxing game. She wanted, they came up to $465. And she wanted the checks payable to Christina Parker. And there was also, $50 for, graphic design.
Do we want to do these in two invoices? These are for the two, for our last Bear Moon powwow, we gifted the Ho Chunk Nation and the Otos from Oklahoma a hand drum drumsticks each for a total of $465 for both. Is there a motion to approve Maria Scott for $465?
So moved.
Any discussion? Any objections to the motion? Motion passed, 7-0-0. Next one for Christina Parker, $50, graphic design for moccasin game sets. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Louis. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Discussion.
How does that work? Does she not work over there already?
Christina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't from the program, this is from their own personal. For the gifts, cause they didn't have anything on hand up there, so they did this out of their own. From the last minute request.
She's doing it on her own free time.
Yes.
So this is like a reimbursement.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Any objections to the motion? No objections? No objections, motion passed 7-0. Old business, LaDonna hosting. No personal business. Tribal council items. Fern Saw, financial.
Tribal Council, I had sent you a couple emails regarding this tribal member, and I know her eviction date was March 13th. I don't know if Fern had since gotten a waiver, but with everything going on, I just don't know if we're still evicting people. I don't know, Coley, if she was able to get any answers after she visited with you. And so I guess this is, and obviously Fern's not here tonight to speak for herself, but she's just looking for help and similar exceptions that were made for some of the other people that were allowed to stay in their homes. And with this circumstance, she, admitted that it was her children, and has been vocal about that. There was another one that Coley brought up. One of our veterans, Kathy Tebow, has also been evicted, and I think she might be moving to stay with a relative, but it just kind of like no consistency, with the way that these waivers have been granted to some of our tribal members and elders, and so that's what this was about. But I guess I would motion to table because I really don't know what Fern's needs are. I know she hadn't found a new place yet. She just really was at a loss on what she should do next. And
I know Fern was granted an extension. Do you remember, Louis, how long that was?
About a year ago.
so the last date I had from her was March 13th, and that was last Friday. And so I
Yeah,
don't
that was
know.
her eviction date. Then she went in a day before that, and she did get a extension.
Okay.
I just don't know the exact.
Okay, so that's all that was about, so I guess, I motion to table until further notice from this tribal member and assessing what her need is.
It's a situation where youngsters using meth upset the whole apple cart. We have compassion for the elders, the homeowners, the renters, and the children. But we can't let out a contaminated house. So it's hard. We feel their pain. We don't like to get caught in that situation. But the youngsters and meth dealers, they get off scot-free and leave the rest of us in a pile of emotions, trying to figure out what to do.
Okay. Table that till it comes again before. Motion?
Yes, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Maybe we should invite Fern to the next meeting.
It was my oversight at our last scheduled meeting, I guess that would have been on March 2nd, that I invited Fern to come, and I've been trying to work with her in, her doing her own advocacy. And then she sat just quietly in the back of the room, and I forgot to add her to the agenda, and so I just apologized to her because that was my fault.
She's shy.
Yeah. And so some of our more vocal tribal members, have come in and really made headway, you know, for themselves and their families, and then some that are just not having, you know, maybe they don't want to public speak. Or I know we had that veteran that you visited with, you know, she hasn't come in and had the ask, but they're just out there, just some aren't coming and don't have any solutions, they're just not coming. So
Yeah,
thanks for mentioning that, Louis.
She came in, and I told her even it was past the court stage in it, where she was court ordered out on that Friday, the 13th. But I told her to go down there and still ask, and she asked, and they took a vote from the board members, and she was granted a extension. I'm not sure 30 days, but when I find out, I'll let you guys know. Any objections to the motion to table? No objections? Motion passed 700. Item 2, rescind motion from 12/30/19 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, this has we've had email traffic over this issue on the investigation and the motion that was made at the 12:30 meeting to, I believe that meeting spoke of hiring Dale Knutson. And so at a later meeting, there was language that said strike Dale Knutson. And so I guess just that whole issue, I'm just kind of pleading with the tribal council to continue to support 12 Clans' progress. And, you know, today we had visitors from the CDC senior leadership, and they were so impressed with our public health department and the efforts that the WCHS has had underway since we've taken over the hospital. And so, but, you know, I also understand that some of our tribal members have had complaints or experiences in the ER particularly. And I just am asking for the tribal council's support, and so that we can continue to support that in its growth and in its transition, and that, you know, calling on the agency who broke it to come do an investigation just doesn't, you know, jive and isn't the parallel effort that we're trying to do to fix that place and have the tribal government at its highest level support that work. And so that's what that's about, because I just want to, you know, strike any actions that spoke to undermining that progress. And I mentioned before that I think we all want the same thing, and it just, we've kind of gone about it in doing it in different ways. And even, you know, some of the employee complaints that continue to find themselves in our boxes, it's that just disrupts the health of the organization and what we're trying to do to create stability for that place. And so at one of our closed meetings regarding, you know, a couple of the issues, I had committed to the council to do a better job of communicating and following up on some of the questions that, you know, we have that may come up. But you know, I go back to what we're trying to accomplish with this, to be a certified by CMS, and the third-party revenue and how that supports our health system. And it takes me back to, you know, a month ago or so when we did an approval for me to go to the STAC meeting, and Treasurer Warner said, when you go there, ask them how we fund, you know, these projects, Three-Quarter House and everything we're trying to accomplish with substance abuse. And you said, you know, find out, ask how some of these other programs are being supported. And what I found out was that these, I don't want to call them icing on the cake, but these programs that aren't supported, and all these extra things that, like what we want to accomplish with our drug and alcohol program, are funded by third-party revenue. And when we talk about things that we want for our community, like dialysis in town and things like that, those things are extra expanded services that come when a tribe has positioned themselves to successfully collect third-party revenue. And so all these things that we want, that we don't have now, aren't going to come if we just keep messing with that progress. And so I guess with all, you know, due respect to Councilwoman Whitewater, that I just, ask for more time. And I was really happy to see your article, Thelma, when you acknowledged that things are slowly getting better over there. And so that's what this is all about. And if we continue to do things that are contrary to the progress that is happening over there, it's just not productive. And so, I know that there's always been discussion saying you have to be on the prevailing side. Well, I was really thankful that some research was shared with me that the only time you have to be on the prevailing side to bring something back up is during that meeting on that day. And so, with that, I would like to make a motion to rescind the motion to hire Dale Knutson as a consultant to investigate complaint statements at 12 Clans Hospital.
Second.
There's a motion by Tori, it was second by Mel to rescind motion. Discussion. John?
So on this original motion, I voted against it. And my reasoning was that I didn't know this Dale Knutson. And I had no knowledge of them. So I thought it would be reckless for me to support this motion with my vote. And it coming to light that this is an actual employee of the IHS, I still don't support it. And it is also not in accordance with our procurement policy. But to speak on 12 Clans, I was always supportive of them and their board and their upper management. But I was a little disheartened on the lack of communication that was coming out of there when we had the situation that happened. And I felt disheartened, and I lost a little support for them. So I looked to 12 Clans to get better at communicating with our people, communicating with our membership, and communicating with this table. Now I'm really looking for that. But today, I still can't support this. So I just wanted to clarify where I sit on this motion that was made to hire Dale Knutson to investigate the hospital.
Thelma?
Okay, on Tori's motion, did you give notice or did you not give us notice of this?
I put this on the agenda. I put it on the
Prior
agenda.
notice to being on a agenda?
I communicated with Teresa last week when this agenda was drafted, and I provided her the documentation.
Okay, because council was supposed to receive a prior notice on this.
You added it at the table that evening, so where was the prior notice to hire that person?
So if you're either going with a notice or no notice, it's either gotta be a majority vote or 2/3 vote.
Well,
To rescind.
this was given notice. This agenda was drafted on March 12th, and I included this documentation to Teresa, and I added it to the agenda. I didn't add it on the spot. I didn't, I'm really transparent with what I'm trying to accomplish here. And I just, and the other thing is, with everything that's happening with this COVID-19 response, this is the least of the Indian Health Services priorities, is to come here and look at this. And I just don't think it's a useful exercise of anyone's time or money.
Eric?
I'd like to state that this says investigate the complaints. That we have a tribal membership that has gone through hardship and personal abuse from some of the personnel that work in that hospital. And if we don't look into our membership's complaints, then what are we doing for them here? They've gone through situations where doctors have come upon them in almost a manner to fight them or to stand up to them or to talk down to them or talk bad or misdiagnose them and brush that off like it was nothing and just to say that maybe we'll get the next patient diagnosed correctly. When we have some of our membership that have been diagnosed and that their lives were at stake and they went to Sioux City and got correctly diagnosed, which saved their lives. And we have a lot of our membership within our tribal boundaries right now that are feeling pain because of misdiagnosed. They can't get into a specialty clinic right now because of time frames, and they have to deal with what they've been diagnosed with. And with that it goes with the medications as well. That a lot of them don't have the money or they don't have the medications at this hospital. And so to have somebody come and investigate the complaints, I see that as valid. Because otherwise we're overlooking our membership, our enrolled membership. If we don't look into their complaints, they didn't file a complaint because they had a good time or they enjoyed their visit at our hospital. They made it because something was wrong. They weren't treated fairly. They were, they just weren't in the best of moods when they left from what it should have been. To go to the hospital and be diagnosed correctly and leave, in good health and order. So I would still like to see these complaints be investigated, whether it's by Dale Knutson or another investigator. But I would like to see are these complaints investigated? Our people matter. That's why we're here. Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you for your comment, Eric. There's a process on when it's patient care. The process is that they go through the patient advocate, and there's a grievance process for that. And when it's related to an employee, they go through the human resource process. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say we're trying to create stability within the organization. And if this table can second guess our doctors or second guess our managers and directors that's their job to oversee maybe that department, that threatens the stability of what we're trying to accomplish. And so on the tribal side, we have the DHD. And so the table tries to do their best to uphold what the DHD does. And so every entity that we have has a mechanism in place to handle some of those things. And it's just not fair to meddle with what we're trying to do to restore quality over there at that health facility. So I do hear you, but it just weakens the ground that we stand on and what we're trying to accomplish in the big picture of things. And that's that CMS certification so that we can improve our health system. I mean, it's all about the future, and if we mess with it right now, we're not going to grow into and prosper in the way that we all want for our tribal members and their health care.
Yes.
I find this a very troublesome question. We need certification to survive as a hospital. If we don't get it, we won't have a hospital. Because IHS had it, and they lost it, and they're not going to spend money to get it recertified. There are a lot of people didn't want the Winnebagos to get a hospital, and we've got to deal with them if we lose certification. The visions of Roland and Dusty will go down the tubes if we don't have certification. The vision of having our own dialysis machines, a new ambulance, new things that we need will go down the tube. We can survive them, but it makes it a lot harder to fight. We need it for the people that are suffering, that are in pain. So I ask you to think about the tribal members and what they need, and forget your own personal needs. Think of the tribe, because they need that hospital. And I can't say it enough, how important it is to get certification. There's a process for people that want to make complaints. We've got to look at that process and improve it so it responds to the needs of our tribal people. But we don't need to throw the baby out. A hospital is a live and growing entity that responds to needs and new needs as they come to our community. We never heard of AIDS. Coronavirus. We never heard of them. The world didn't hear of them. But it took over. And the health care people had to fight a long time to get a handle on it. We're in a big fight that's bigger than any one of us. That's bigger than the tribe. And we got to be part of that fight if we're going to survive as a tribe. So we've got to join hands and quit our bickering and fight the big fight. That's all.
Roland.
I want to say thank you to you, Louis, for the words that you expressed, and I agree with you. I feel that we must continue down this path with this hospital and working with those people that are sitting there in charge of taking care of it and running it. And looking at the bigger picture, that we have to take all of what's been taking place up to this point into consideration and the decisions that we're making at this table in regards to the health care of this tribe. I've been trying very diligently to work close with Danelle as we go forward, making calls, checking, seeing where we're at with things, to work closer with her and her team. And I support her team. Right now we need them more than ever. At the same time, we can't discount what those tribal members said when they came in here. We can't just forget what they said. And you touched on it, Louis. Right there in that complaint department. You said it yourself. We need to fix that over there because it's not working properly. I agree. Let's do that. So let's get the right people to help us do that. Let's work this problem together so that then we can get past this. That's how I feel about it. But I can't discount what those tribal members said. I can't forget that because it has validity. They came in here and they pleaded with us to acknowledge that. We've acknowledged it. So let's work that problem. That's what I got.
Oh, our complaint isn't written up. I was at that hospital a few weeks ago. I spent 3 nights and 4 days in Sioux City. I don't know how an X-ray on Monday could have missed pneumonia, and Wednesday trying to diagnose my wife with chronic heart failure, a collapsed lung. But after 2 days in the hospital and her laying there in that bed at a 10, her pain level at a 10 on morphine, and her blood pressure way down there. And it's just diagnosed we had pneumonia. I try to have faith too, people. I do. Like I said, it's always going to be okay at the end of the day for you if you're doing the right thing and you're acting right. So. Any more discussion? John.
I appreciate what the fellow council members have said. I agree with all of you. And those complaints are serious, and I care about them. But still today, I don't think that this vehicle is the one that's going to get us any results. So I wanted to let you know that I'm in support of looking at how we can do something from this table to ensure that our people are getting the proper care. But again, I don't think this is the vehicle.
Is there any objections to the motion, to rescind the motion?
As a former mediator,
Okay.
I realize how important it is for both sides to be heard. I do not negate the fact that the opposite side must be heard, so that you can get down to what the real problem is. And then you can work toward a solution. So I'm not against elders or young people making complaints. We got to get the whole process to where we can solve problems, or we'll be fighting this battle 10 years from now. I don't want to see that. Of course, I probably won't anyway. But Alan, I agree with you. We've got to find a solution to the problem.
Before we go into a vote, let me propose that we table this, bring in the team, and discuss this like our elder tribal council member proposed, hear the other side, and come to some resolution together so that we can meet this need.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Louis, are you done?
Yeah.
Roland, I'm not willing to rescind my motion, but I am willing to bring this grievance process forward for the council to review and have a discussion, because what we're talking about is a policy revision and to strengthen it, and I think that's what I'm hearing and what people want as a follow-up action. And I'm willing to do that and work with Coley as board members look at this policy and to find the gaps where our tribal members aren't satisfied. And I'm too concerned with those gentlemen that came here that evening and shared their story, but neither of those gentlemen went through the patient advocate. And so how is anyone to get an answer or a solution or to say this, you were wronged, and their perception and their feeling is that they were wronged, but until it goes through that process, and which is a clinical reviewed process, we don't have that answer for those two patients. But I'm standing with my motion because the reason why this became a priority for me was because by email we got I guess a statement of work that Councilwoman Whitewater had drafted in partnership with who I don't know, and that was sent to Mr. Driving Hawk, the IHS area director for the Great Plains area. And so to have correspondence come from this table and to be speaking on behalf of the WCHS board and to be speaking on behalf of the tribal council was inappropriate in my point of view. And to have no input in that statement of work is not a transparent action of this table. And so this became a high priority for me to rescind any language that Councilwoman Whitewater thought that she had to take those actions. And if it was done in a healthy way, that we all were included in that conversation, you know, and knew what exactly was going to go into that statement of work, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. But I can't support those type of things. And in fact, I just wonder if it's a violation of our ethics to be speaking on behalf of the board of directors and this table outside of what was approved. And so this became something that I just want to accomplish, so those type of things stop, with Thelma reaching out to area office and headquarters.
Polly.
Yes.
This was brought up at a tribal council meeting. You all were here. You heard what the tribal members was asking for. They were asking for help. They wanted someone to look into things. So that was done. Made the motion. We have 4 yeses, 3 nos. And I do not agree with sweeping these complaints and concerns of our tribal members under the rug, or trying to hide it, or really not addressing it. And seems like it's more, people are more worried about getting an award or having a status or what, all that, rather than our own people who put us at this table. They're speaking out to us, asking for help. And I am, for one, am not gonna just let that happen, to have it shoved under the rug. It needs to be addressed. There's some people who are not here today, who never will be. You'll never see them until maybe next lifetime. They're not here because of the hospital. And I would like to keep this motion as it is, because it does need to be investigated. There are real true complaints that's there, that really needs to be addressed. We can't hide this or whatever. I'm here for the people, and I'm speaking for the people, and I will continue to do so. And it'll be on your conscience if anything happens and you guys just want to do away with it. That's on you. But for me, I pray about it, I ponder about it every night. We don't know what's going to happen. Anytime, anything can happen at the hospital. So I would like to keep this motion as it is.
Chairman, I got a question.
Yes.
So this action was taken on December 30th, 2019. So, and I know Thelma's done a lot of work on it. So I just wanted to ask Thelma for the council, has this action been useful? And has this Dale Knutson been willing to do this for us outside of IHS? Because the motion doesn't state IHS outside of her duties with IHS.
Does IHS know they're gonna pay for it?
Dale said
Well,
that they
well,
will, Dale said that they will do this free of charge. There is no cost. It is considered technical assistance. And all they're gonna do is make recommendations from their investigations, from these complaints and statements from our people who were wronged. That's all it is.
If,
And that should follow the normal process.
I was gonna say, have you shared any of that information with the other council members?
Like I said before, when things come to the table and you make a motion, it's like it's all on that person who makes that motion to go and find this, find that, get everything prepared so when you come to the table. So that's what I tried to do, but it's always something, somebody brings something up, or you can't do this, you can't do that. So if anybody wants to help with these things, it'll sure make things easier for me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I would like to know who drafted that statement of work. You know, who are you working with, Thelma? Because you're not working with WCHS.
Roz did
And
our legal.
And so why are you working with an attorney that's not our Attorney General, which is Big Fire? And
Because
it
it's
just-
conflict of interest, the 12
it just
clans,
speaks to, you know, the intentions,
the
and
12
it's just not
clans
healthy.
lawyers is Big Fire law, so it's conflict of interest for me to contact them for anything.
We'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. 4. No. 3. 0 abstention. Motion to rescind passed 4-3-0. Item 3, DHHS at-large nominations for Secretary Tribal Advisory Committee.
Tribal Council, in the packet, there's an email and a letter that was received by the tribe, and in there are the vacancies for the areas, whether primary and alternate. And so I'm currently the chair of the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Tribal Advisory Committee. And at those meetings, we meet with senior leadership from all the agencies that fall within DHHS. And I currently hold the at-large seat. And so that at-large seat means that I'm representing, you know, all the tribes and not just my area. What's, I guess, to me, I don't know if special is the word or not, but, you know, there's also a Great Plains area representative. And so it's really beneficial to our area's concerns that we have somebody from our area that serves, as well as the at-large member being from the Great Plains area. How this works, typically some of these committees are appointed at the Area Health Board, but with DHHS, you have to be nominated, and DHHS selects the person or the tribal leaders that will serve on STAC. And so that's a unique process on how people get to serve on the STAC. Today, we met with Dr. Montero and Captain Cleland from the CDC, and it's opportunities like that through our leadership and the tribe's work that we're able to have some of those opportunities. And so we're literally at the head of the table through the leadership seats that I hold. And some of the things that are happening right now with our country and what we hope to accomplish locally, it's a real benefit to us being engaged in that work. And the national advocacy isn't to put yourself on a pedestal, it's to be engaged at that table and to have your input on what you want to see happen or what you need changed in terms of laws or health policy. And so I just really thankful that the Winnebago tribe, since 2015, when that CMS certification was lost at the IHS service unit, has been heavily engaged in that process, whether it be testifying to the House of Appropriations, testifying to the Senate Committee to Indian Affairs, or being a part of some of these bodies that are made up of all elected officials. And it truly honors the government-to-government relationship, and that we're there present and leading those discussions so that no one else is deciding on our behalf. So I'm asking the Winnebago Tribal Council if they would support a nomination for me to continue to serve as a STAC at-large member. And those nominations are due March 18th.
This is a very important moment and a milestone in the history of the tribe to have one tribal member serving on these committees and doing what she does. We need support from the tribal government, from the national government to get money to do what we do at the hospital. She's been helpful in working with economic issues and other issues related to getting a hospital certified. So I can't brag enough about her. And I think it's important that she remain doing what she's doing, because she's doing it for the people. And the people need it. So I nominate Tori to the position.
There's a motion by Louis to nominate Tori. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion.
Discussion. Roland.
Let's go back to visit what we're looking at, what we're faced with here on this reservation. Going out abroad nationally, that's good. Then on a statewide like that, that's even, that brings it closer to home. But where we're at right here, on the micro level right here, we're experiencing some difficulty. We're having our own tribal members come in here and they're telling us that they're not being treated correctly. They're not being treated with the way that they feel that they should be. So there's issues with this system that's in place right now. There's issues with the way that the complaints aren't being gleaned out properly. So let's get close to home and start dealing with those issues locally before we start trying to go all over the place and deal with the national issue for all of Indian country. That's how I feel about that. Because it's still an unsolved issue.
Any more discussion? Tori.
Thank you, Louis, for that motion, and thank you, Mel, for that second. And Roland, I am worried about our local issues as well, but what happens in Washington, D.C. impacts what happens here on our reservation. And it's that hierarchy of federal policies that dictate and we have to navigate through. And what better proactive way to control our own destiny than to be talking with the top leadership on our concerns. And everything that each of these respective tribal leaders bring to that conversation is what's happening on the local level. It's just our time to have it with the top federal officials that can change and impact some of these decisions that directly impact what happens on our reservation. And so it's not to go talk about something that's not happening here. It's to control that and take hold of that and take responsibility for all these laws and programs that we need or that we don't have. And so, I took your suggestion seriously when you asked me to find out how some of these programming are funded on other reservations. And like I said, what I found out is that they're heavily grant funded, and when those grant funds run out, it's on the tribe to sustain those programs. And so I just want to share with you that I take everything that the table has shared with me and directed me to look into. I do that.
I don't recall ever asking you to look into anything in regards to our alcohol or alcohol program.
You did.
I know that we put resource toward that on the tribal side of things to ensure that our tribal members are being taken care of. Now, I do, however, feel that when we were going into this whole business of 638ing the hospital, that at that very time that we should have been looking at taking over that DDU simultaneously. And I expressed that at this table and I was outvoted. And so that is what it is. But at the same time, there's still a lot of issues in this 12 clans with critical care, acute care. Now, it seemed to be like they had to have so many bodies in these beds at a certain amount of time. And that's why we couldn't do it. Well, if we would have kept that DDU, we wouldn't have had to go through all this. Now here we are having to reinvent the wheel all over again as a result of that failure. And again, it goes back to where we're at locally. We have a inpatient treatment facility that nobody's engaged with. Nobody's sitting down and having any conversation with these individuals and who they're treating on our reservation.
I do.
We're not having that conversation. I don't see those people coming over here talking to this governing body. We don't have that relationship. And I've been asking for that over there at the hospital. And yet I still haven't heard anything. I haven't received one email. I don't know what's going on over there. And we should be included in all that discussion. From last thing that I heard in regards to where we're involved with that hospital is we're doing their laundry. And that's it. I think that we should have more invested in there besides doing their laundry. We should have a say. But that's not going on now. So those things are important. Those are important right here on this reservation for the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Just for everyone's information, the DDU was separated from the Indian Health Service hospital for CMS reasons, and the reason why the IHS made an administrative decision to separate that from our service unit was to prevent further sanctions from CMS. And the CMS guidance was that that facility should have their own medical staff, and they did not. And so the agency, to prevent themselves being further sanctioned, they separated that. And that decision was not a decision of the table. That was a decision made with concurrence by one of our former chairmans. And what the tribes later learned, which upset both not only the Winnebago tribe but the Omaha Nation, was that it became a regional facility. So all the tribes in the region all now have a percentage of that facility, where before it was just the Winnebago and the Omaha. And when the Self-Governance Steering Committee was looking at taking over that at the same time with our hospital, when we compacted, the Winnebago tribe did not have a majority interest and therefore didn't have a weighted equity to take it over at that time. But that is still something that we are striving for and working towards, because it's a very critical piece of what we're trying to do with some of the other aspects of our tribal programming. Further, I've said it on several occasions that what we're doing and what we're doing as a tribe is going to gain the confidence of those other 16 tribes in our area to say, yes, we're going to allow the Winnebago to manage that on our behalf. And so when we come to that point, I think all the tribe has done and is going to continue to do to build that past performance and give those leaderships from North Dakota, South Dakota, and Iowa the confidence in the Winnebago tribe to manage that on our behalf is what we do going forward, and that we are good stewards of not only our funding but of our health care. And so I'm with you on us wanting to take that over. I know that the Omaha Nation has previously put in a proposal to contract that place, and I don't think they were successful. And so I just don't want you to put it out there amongst the membership that was not heavily analyzed and considered but we're not in, like I said, we don't have the majority share now. And so it's going to take a resolution from each of these other tribes to say, yes, you can do that on our behalf.
Eric?
For my support to vote yes for you to go out there and advocate, then that would have to make that one of the priorities for you to make sure that that happened.
I'd like to say that that's good that there's that opportunity out there for us to run that, to take charge of that federal level say in that medical area. But I would like to say let's leave it with a medical person, preferably someone from the hospital. Some of the leaders we have at the hospital, because as we come on council, we're put with a board, and somehow you became the president of that board, and you travel on the tribe's dime, and so we need you here. We need you here. That's the way I see it. We need you at this table. And so with that, I would like to say that you put somebody else in that for that nomination from the hospital, where it's their profession.
Eric, you can only serve on the stack if you are an elected tribal leader, and so we can't put anybody from the hospital in this role. And I don't travel on the tribe's dime. This is all reimbursable, and every time I ask for a travel request to travel to one of these meetings, I always note on who is reimbursing that travel, whether it be HHS, whether it be NIHB, whether it be the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Health Board. So I do not travel on the tribe's dime. This is not tribal money. This is federal money or area money that comes from that IHS shares that go to some of these entities like NIHB. And so you are incorrect that I do not travel on the tribe's dime.
Well, we'll see the next time that the travel request comes to this table.
Call for the vote. Oh, John?
So the Secretary's Tribal Advisory Committee was established 2010, create coordinated department-wide to incorporate tribal guidelines to HHS priorities. This is an important seat that we can get. But my only concern is that this is a 2-year term, and I want to thank Tori for taking this up and really being in the forefront for our tribe and for Indian country. And but my only concern is that you're up for re-election and you're in the investigative portion of process of a ethical complaint.
So this only goes through your council tenor. Like I wouldn't be seated there if I was not a tribal council.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. So those are my concerns. I just wanted to let you know that.
So thank you, John, for raising those concerns. But I haven't stopped working in the midst of any of those things. You know, I've continued to move forward and have never stopped my service to the tribe or what the tribe is engaged in. But, you know, I think that's a valid question.
Everything is not totally okay at the alcohol program. I do a lot of 12-step counseling where I talk to tribal members when I see that they've been drinking too much, they're having health problems. I talked to one of my relatives. And he was crying when I got through talking to him. He told me, "Thank you for thinking about me, Dega. I didn't know you thought about it." And I told him, your body is going to wear out on you. Your organs will quit functioning. So you need to go in for a checkup. I've done that to a lot of people. I don't tell anyone about it. I just watch to see if they took my advice and looked for sobriety. I don't complain about it. It is something recovery people do to help their fellow. Because we've been in the same predicament in our lives. And it was Abel Decora and Old Cleveland had an impact on my life. Hell, because it was so grouchy. But I needed that. So I passed the torch. I took up where they left off. But they didn't get, these people are not getting helped by the alcohol program.
No.
Mr. Chair, again, I'm going to reiterate that this reservation here and the people that we were elected to help have put us here to make sure that their words are heard. Now, we're faced with multiple issues when it comes to the addiction. And there's substances out there that are hurting our family members, and we have to deal with those issues. And as you're well aware, that even made the agenda concerning one of the tribal members in the membership as a result of methamphetamines in our community, not to mention alcoholism, marijuana, prescription medications, suicidal ideation. I mean, the list goes on. And for us to have to sit here and even have this discussion when it comes to an inpatient treatment facility that sits here on this reservation, where we should have control of that. That should be already done. How far out is that going to be? How much longer do we have to sit here and talk about the same thing when that's right here within our grasp? What's the answer to that, Tori?
The answer is getting a resolution from each of those other tribes to say you can manage that on our behalf. That's the answer.
How far out would that? How far out is that? Have you
I don't
made
have-
any efforts or anything toward trying to help us get toward that?
It wouldn't be my sole effort. It would be an effort of this table, and it would be a similar exercise with a self-governance steering committee that would do that work. And that work is probably mostly done because it was already looked at, and it wasn't the time. And so I don't have a timeline for you, Roland, but we're
When
not
is the
in-
time?
We aren't in any. Well, I keep saying we need to quit messing with that hospital so we can have CMS certification on behalf of the Winnebago tribe and not a federal agency that lost it.
How
And
far out
then-
are we with that recertification?
Point of order, Chairman.
So
It's not about the motion.
I think that the discussion is worth follow-up, and it's not just me. You know, here you don't want to support me to sit on these committees, but you want to say just you make it happen. That's not fair, Roland. And the same extensive exercise that you're aware of that we went into to take over that hospital would be the similar effort that we would do any self-compact, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be DDU. And you know the time and the resource that went into that work. It wasn't something that just happened. And so you're not posing fair questions, and putting it all on me isn't fair either.
I have a question.
Support it.
How far out are we on the halfway house in the alcohol program?
In regards to what?
The whole thing.
Which part would you like answered?
You got to get the buildings. You got to get staff. You got to get a program together that's certifiable so you get federal money. The whole package.
That's all done.
I don't see anyone using it.
Gentlemen, John called point of order. Halfway house business, you guys can discuss. Call for the vote. All in favor to nominate Toy to the Secretary, Tribal Advisory Committee. All in favor, raise your right hand. 3 yes. No. 4 no. 0 abstentions. Nomination failed, 3-0.
I have a comment. I'm really disappointed to not see that pass, but I guess one thing is that it would have been nice to have a nomination for my own tribe, but I don't need a nomination for my own tribe to sit on this committee. But it just, as a courtesy, I asked my own tribe first.
Okay. We're going to some business we got. John, do you have a comment?
I was just wanted to say, like, if we do, is there anybody else that we wanted to nominate?
Is there any other nominations? Discussion?
Chicky? I'd like to nominate Chicky. For the committee.
The motion by Eric, is there a second? There's motion by Eric, is there a second? There's motion by Eric to nominate Tom Oil as the Secretary, Tribal Advisors Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rollin. Any discussion?
I object.
Call for the vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. 3. No? Raise your right hand. 3-4-0. Motion failed. Anything else on this? Anything else?
I would just add that I may continue to serve on this committee because there's other tribes that would nominate me. The National Indian Health Board is nominating me. It's just, like I said, it's just practical that I would ask my own tribe to nominate me as well.
Anything else? Nothing else? Move on to added items. HR presented a hiring freeze that the Winnebago tribe enforce a hiring freeze effective immediately to coincide with the Winnebago tribe and Nebraska closure dates or through March 27th.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion?
Is it appropriate that I say something? Tina had asked me to come this evening to be able to speak. She said she was gonna have the Weiss guys speak. Sorry.
That's why I'm here this evening. Tina had said something to me about possibly adding the YCIC, having a exemption to that. We have interviews tomorrow, and being that we are considered an essential service, I tried to do an emergency hire today, and we have interviews tomorrow at 10 a.m. At least to be able to get to fully staffed before we continue on with our the cancellation of tribal operations, except for essential services. So I'd like to get fully staffed before we enter into that, especially with unknown of how long this is going to be in effect. So I then, and upon that request, I wanted to have a one-time exemption of our selection and hiring policy for the 3 new staff I'm trying to bring on, just this one time, so that because we are considered essential services, I'd like to be able to do that pending they pass their background check and UA.
Are you guys comfortable with that on your motion, John and Roland?
You can add an exemption for essential services to my motion.
I agree.
Good. Okay. Any more discussion?
Thank you.
Is there any objections to the motion? No objections? Motion passed 7-0-0. Next item is Human Services Guidelines for Assistance. You guys got the guidelines as follow. Added, if request is related to someone affected by COVID-19, accommodations and exemptions will be made based on need and availability of funds. During this time, those who use emergency assistance before or additional AEA funding came are now eligible for the $250 of assistance until the crisis is under control. That'd be revised 3/16/2020 by TT, Tina Tassler. I'm thinking. You guys read that? Does that make any kind of... There's a motion to support, motion to approve.
So moved.
Any discussion? Discussion?
Discussion.
Yeah, but
I support this. We've been trying to work diligently to solve this issue with support of our tribal membership and those that have immediate needs, and we've been trying to get at that. I would like to make sure that we have a meeting with our tax commission so that we could get at that, and then free up some funds and make that available to some of these members, the way that we discussed in prior meetings, sooner than later, so that we're addressing that issue for those that can have access to it. That's all I got.
I'm gonna support the motion. But be mindful that with what's coming, we may be required to reduce expenditures. So we're gonna find ourselves between a rock and a hard place. And I don't envy Coley a bit. He's gonna have a tough job. really gotta tell people we have no funding. And that puts us all behind the 8 ball.
Any more discussion? Is there any objections to the motion? No objections? No objections, motion passed 7-0-0. A motion to suspend the rules to approve the special meeting, special tribal council meeting minutes.
Yeah, we still have the dance one.
Okay, all right. Okay. Oh, you got that, okay.
Yeah.
The honorarium of our dancers and singers today who danced and sung for the CDC, which met with 12 clans and the tribal council today. And the amount is what?
$750.
$750.
Move it, Mr. Chairman, and that included 8 dancers and 7 singers at $50 per piece.
Any discussion?
Total amount is $750?
Yes. I'd like to include that come out of the tribal council's contract line item.
That was on the agenda? On, no, for this meeting.
Yeah, I added it.
Yeah, she added it.
No, for the agenda for the CDC meeting.
Yes, it was on
That
there.
was on there, they were anticipated, participated?
Yes.
Okay. Any objections to the motion? No objections? Motion passed 7-0-0. Now motion to suspend the rules to approve special tribal council meeting minutes we had today for COVID-19 updates and recommendations stuff. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion. Is any objections to the motion? No objections. Motion passed 7-0-0. A motion to approve Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska Special Tribal Council meeting / COVID-19, March 16th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second. And Chairman, is there, maybe you could share that with the membership, what the agenda was and what happened?
As I said at the beginning of the meeting, there was a few things that happened today. The Winnebago Public School closed until March 27th. Also, in that meeting and a meeting afterwards with our DHD, the Winnebago tribe decided to close Educare and a grant and close tribal operations except essential employees until March 27th. We will address that situation come March 27th. The Creator and Savior bless us bless us all and get us out of that before that day. And we had we made a few changes to our policies and procedures to help our employees through this time. If anything bad should happen, to get them through this time of need financially. So with that, I want to thank everybody out there that has stepped up, spoken, had thoughts and prayers and wants and wishes for the betterment of our people, or the health of our children and our workers. Is there any other comments? Is there any objections to the motion? No objection. Special Tribal Council COVID-19 meeting minutes approved, 700. Thank you. And again, the Winnebago tribe will be addressing this problem daily. Tomorrow, the Winnebago tribe has a meeting with the governor of Nebraska at 9 a.m. After that, if there are any significant news, we will address that, and we will put something out for everybody to see and read. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by John, second by Eric. Is there any objections? No objections. Motion passed, 700. Oh, my time is, we adjourned at 7:21.